Hello everyone, welcome to the Tech Arc Learning Hub. I'm Preeti Bodeti, and in today's video, we are going to walk through the data lakehouse use case in Google Cloud. In this use case, we are going to see how the data is accessed from the Google Cloud storage to the BigQuery using the BigLake tables. And also we will see how the data is directly imported into the native tables in Google BigQuery. We will query the data from two different sources, one coming from the BigLake tables that are connected to the Google Cloud storage and the other coming directly from the native BigQuery tables. We are going to combine them together for analysis in BigQuery. Before we move on to this use case, firstly, we are going to talk about what the data warehouse is, what a data lake is, and how the lakehouse architecture combines the strengths of both the data warehouse and the data lake. Before getting any delay, let's get started. So now let's start with what a data warehouse is about. Data warehouse is used to store structured data. It uses a concept called schema on write, which means like we define the schema first and then store the data in it. So the structured data, before it's landed into the data warehouse, it goes through a process called ETL, which means extract, transform, and load process. So the data is extracted from different multiple sources. These sources could include the CSV files or the sales data or the application databases. It could include different forms of data. So it extracts data from the sources and then transforms them, where it transforms them into a clean and organized format. And this transformed data is then at last loaded in a data warehouse. So basically the data warehouse always holds the structured data, which is it is cleaned and transformed into an organized format. So this structured data is then usually used by the BI analysts and the business teams so that they could do analysis and then generate dashboards and also generate reports. This is all about the data warehouse, where it undergoes the ETL process and then it's used by the BI analysts so that they could generate reports. Now let's talk about what a data lake is. The data lake can store all kinds of data. Unlike the data warehouse, it is not limited to store only structured data. It can store structured, unstructured, and semi-structured data too. This could include the JSON files, videos, images, IoT logs, or anything as such. In the data lake, it follows the concept called schema on read, which means the data is stored first and then the schema is applied for the data that is to be processed or used for analysis. So in a data lake, we follow the process called ELT, where the data is extracted from different sources and then directly loaded in the data lake. And if any business requirement is needed, then they are pulled and transformed. So usually in data lakes, because of high flexibility, they are used by the data scientists or the AI engineers for machine learning purposes or for training the models, etc. So the biggest advantage of a data lake is it can store large amounts of data with a lower cost, and it has high scalability where it can store humongous amounts of raw data in it. So one such example in the Google Cloud where we could store this raw data is the Google Cloud Storage. Later, we will move on to the lakehouse, where the lakehouse will show the advantages of both the data warehouse and the data lake, which is the organizing capability of a data warehouse and also the scalability of a data lake. To combine both these advantages, we will go forward with this lakehouse architecture. So now let's talk about what a data lakehouse is. In this data lakehouse, we will combine the flexibility and scalability of a data lake with the performance, governance, and organization of a data warehouse. So with data lakehouse, we can perform the data analytics, we can generate the dashboards, we can do the artificial intelligence, machine learning all in one platform. So the biggest advantage of the data lakehouse is it provides a single unified platform where the BI analysts and the data scientists both can work on the same data. So, unlike the traditional architecture, the data lakehouse follows both the processes, which is the ELT process as well as the ETL process too. So, in this data lakehouse, we are going to do both the analytics part and also the artificial intelligence part as well. So in this data lakehouse, we will be using the services in Google Cloud, which is the Google BigQuery for analytics purpose and the Dataplex for the governance and discovery of data. So today we are going to implement using the Google Cloud Storage, where we will store the CSV files, and then we use the Dataplex catalog service in GCP, where we are going to create a lake and store these unprocessed data files. And then we use those data files, we discover them and connect via the BigLake tables, and we discover them in the BigQuery. And using those BigLake tables, that is the raw tables, and then we'll follow another path where we'll directly import some of the CSV files from the GCS to the BigQuery, making them as native BigQuery tables. And we combine both the native BigQuery tables that are structured and also the raw files that are the BigLake tables, and we use the querying, and then we display them in a BigQuery dashboard. So we will check the data from two different sources, that is the BigLake tables, the raw unprocessed data, and also we retrieve data from the native BigQuery tables that are in a structured format. So let's dive into this video and check how this works. So now let's check the CSV file. So I am in the cloud platform, and let's go to the cloud storage, and in the buckets I have already created a bucket which is the chocolate sales raw bucket. Okay, sorry, the naming was wrong, it's fine. And then we have the different sources, the calendar, customers, products, sales, and stores. So I've created different separate folders for each of the data sets, I mean the entities. So one for the calendar, we have the calendar CSV file. For customers, we have customers. For products, we have products. For the sales, we have sales. And for the stores, we have store CSV file. So we have the raw data stored in the cloud storage. Now we are going to access this data in the Dataplex catalog. So let's first go into the Dataplex catalog. This is the Dataplex Universal Catalog. Here, if you can see, we have the Manage Lakes at the left. So in that, let's go and hit Manage. And as you can see, we can create a lake. So let's hit Create Lake. And here I'm just gonna give any of my name, like I'll say the raw chocolate sales data catalog. And then I'm just gonna give as US Central one. Before that, I just wanted to check what the zone for the bucket is. Okay, it's multi-region, so it's fine. Then I'll just go and go to the Dataplex. Again, I'm gonna hit Manage, hit Create, and give as chocolate sales data catalog. And US Central one, no labels, I'll hit Create. So the lake is being created, and then we will create a zone for that. And in the zones, we are going to add the assets. So basically in the Dataplex catalog, we'll have 3 different kinds of zones. One is the bronze zone and silver zone and the gold zone. The bronze zone holds the completely unprocessed raw data, and in the silver zone, it's in the like partially, and in the gold zone, it's like completely like fully transformed and curated data we'll be holding in. So that is why we have the defined zones. So in this lake, we are going to create a zone where where it holds the raw data. So we'll create like raw zone, and then we'll hold all the data sets of the Google Cloud Storage, and then we'll discover these big lake tables in the BigQuery. Okay, the data lake has been created. So now we'll just go in the lake and create a zone. If you can see zones, I'm just gonna add a zone. Let's say as raw. Okay. And regional US Central one. Okay. If you see here, it's curated zone or a raw zone, right? We are going to hit the raw zone, and I'm not going to add any labels. In the discovery, I'll just say enable metadata discovery. And in the CSV options, I'll enable the CSV parsing since we are doing for the CSV. And I'll hit the header rows to 1. And I'll hit create. So the zone is getting created, and once it gets created, we'll just add the assets and see whether we could get the raw data sets. Okay, now if you see the zone is created, now let's add the assets. So I'll hit add assets and then add an asset. It's the storage bucket, and I'm just gonna say raw chocolate sales data sets, and I'll browse the bucket. It's this, and I'll hit select. And for your information, I just hit the multi-regional bucket, but the assets and the cloud storage bucket location should be the same. So I just created another bucket with the US Central one location, and I'm browsing it to that bucket. Yeah. So now the location is good. So I'll just hit the BigQuery connection API is enabled, and I'll hit done. Okay, and I'll hit continue and let it be the inherit, and let's submit the asset. So the assets will be created and they will be pulled from the Google Cloud Storage to the data catalog, and then we will see the schemas created in this lake. Now the assets have been created. If you can see, the discovery status is scheduled. So if you can see the logs, if you see table calendar created, table customers created, the table products created, sales created. So we have the entities created in our data lake catalog. So let's just head back, and if you go to the entities right here beside the assets tab, you will see the entities being created. So if you see the calendar, you'll see the schema of it. And if you see, we have the schema for that. And the same goes for the other tables as well. So now let's go back to the BigQuery and see whether we can see a BigLake tables formed in there. So I'll just hit BigQuery. Let's go to the BigQuery, and in the data sets, if you see, we have the raw zone created. We did not do anything, we didn't do any manual thing, and if you hit this, you will see the entities right there. So if you can see, we have all the 5 tables created, but these are the raw data. They are not processed, they are not structured. So if I just head back again to the data sets. Oh, did I come to? let me just go back. Okay, this is the data sets, and this is the table, right? And let me go to the data set here. And if you see in the details, okay, yeah, if you see here, it's the Dataplex Lake ID and it's the Dataplex zone. So this is connected with the Google Cloud Storage. This is not from the BigQuery tables. This is from the Google Cloud Storage where it has been fetched to the Dataplex, and we are referring to that. We are not directly accessing the BigQuery table right in here, okay? Because we get confused. Since the table exists in the BigQuery, we assume that it's the BigQuery table, but it's not the native table. It's that this table belongs to the Dataplex, which consists of raw data. Okay, now we will proceed with the direct import. In creating a native table, I'm going to import the sales file and we'll have a new data set. I'll create a new data set manually right in here, and we will import the native table in that data set. And then we'll use both these tables where one belongs to the BigQuery table and the others belong from the Dataplex, and we'll start doing the analysis. Now let's create the curated data set. So I'll just go to the data sets and I'll just hit create data set. Let's say as curated sales data. Okay. And the data location would be West Central 1. And I'll just hit create data set. And for the data set, let me refresh. Yeah. Go to the data sets, and in here, let's go and create table. And we are going to import this from the Google Cloud Storage. We need to select the file, and it's the sales table. So go to the sales folder, hit the sales file, select. And then schema as autodirect and no partitioning, and let's put the table as curated sales. Okay, curated sales, and hit create table. Let me hit refresh. Yeah, if you can see, we got the curated sales table with the schema existing. So now we will run the queries for the curated table sales data, and as well as also query few of the tables from the raw data too in a combined way. Okay, now let's start querying the data sets. So the first one is the sales data, which is from the curated data set. So if I just see here, this is the project ID, and this is the data set, and this is the curated sales table. So I'm just going to run this entire query. So if I just hit run, and let's go to the results. This is just getting slow. Yeah. We just got the sales table, which holds the order ID, when it's been ordered, and what they've ordered, what product they've ordered, and from which store, and who has ordered. So we have the customer ID, the store ID, the product ID, the order date, as well as the order ID as well. So this comes for the sales data. And now we'll move on to the raw data. So this is the customer data that's coming from the Dataplex raw entity. But if you can see in the dashboard, you can see it in a structured format, organized and showing what the customer ID and all the customers details. So this is, we are fetching data, and doing the analysis from the unprocessed data. So it's become so convenient for us. And then we are using this data from the same platform. So here, if you can see in the earlier query for the sales, we queried for the structured data, that is the data warehouse. And for the customers data which we fetched now is from the data lake, the unprocessed data. So we are just visualizing the entire data from a unified platform, which is the Dataplex catalog. And now here we are doing both querying. We are using the curated as well as not unprocessed data, that is the raw data, which is the customers. So if I just run this entire command, we get both the details, the order ID, the order date, the customer ID, the gender and age. It holds both the customer data along with the sales data too. So in the entire table, the details which we fetched, we have the unprocessed and the processed data. We've used both the platforms, the data warehouse as well as the data lake. It's so flexible enough. That's what the lakehouse is providing us. And then moving on, we have the entire raw data as well as the curated data. So we have the stores, the customers, and the products along with the sales. So I'll just run this query. And if you can see, we got all the details. We got the store name, we got the city, we got the quantity, we got how much revenue we gained, what profit we attained. This is all the entire complete data set of the chocolate sales. So this is how flexible a data lakehouse provides, where we can use the data which is not processed as well as which is processed, which has been given a schema, which has been given a schema after loaded. So we are using both the curated as well as the unprocessed data. This is the advantage of the lakehouse. It gives us the convenience to have both the data that are coming from completely different sources. One is the structured BigQuery table and the others are coming from the unprocessed raw files that are stored in the Dataplex catalog. I hope you had a great understanding on what the data warehouse, data lakes, and the lakehouse architecture on the Google Cloud. If you like this video, please do like, share, and subscribe. And also don't forget to hit the bell icon below to get more such content like this. Have a good day. Thank you.